Hello everyone. I've lived in Japan for almost 10 years, and during this time I've realized there are certain things you have to accept and forgive to avoid constant stress. Firstly, people judge by appearances. Some foreigners call this always being the foreigner. In Japan, you'll never be fully accepted as one of their own. You'll always be an outsider. I personally disagree. You can absolutely become part of a Japanese social circle. If they know you well, are friends with you, know you speak Japanese, and accept you for who you are. However, I won't deny that Japanese people, like people everywhere, judge appearances. But in Japan, it's 99% Japanese people doing the judging, making it especially noticeable for non-Asian foreigners. No matter how well you speak Japanese, or how many years you've lived here, even with Japanese citizenship, you'll still look like a foreigner. Some people comment that I resemble a Japanese person, but I don't. Look at my profile, look at my eyes. I don't look Asian to a Japanese person. They can spot a foreigner from 5 kilometers away, and there's no changing that. This used to annoy me. The wide-eyed stares, the gasps of, "Oh my God, a foreigner." In restaurants, cafes, or even hospitals, especially in smaller towns with fewer foreigners, it can be panic-inducing. People will try to switch to English even if you speak Japanese fluently, or they might even try to ignore you if they don't know English. It's frustrating when you want to be treated like a normal person, not someone mentally deficient or a potential thief. I've learned to accept being seen as a foreigner, but also how to navigate it. When I go to the hospital and sense that panic, oh no, a foreigner for the first time in 20 years, I actively speak Japanese. For example, when a nurse takes my blood, I explain in Japanese that I'm 28, afraid of needles, prone to fainting, and might need to lie down. I might add that I recently fell hard snowboarding and suspect a tailbone injury that needs an X-ray. This immediately changes their demeanor. They see that you not only understand them, but can also clearly communicate your needs. Their apprehension fades as they realize you're perfectly capable of expressing yourself. It's understandable. They can't always gauge your Japanese proficiency. Second, earthquakes. Japan has many natural disasters. I've talked about this before. Japan experiences nearly every type of natural disaster except, perhaps, tornadoes, typhoons, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, landslides. They're all realities here. Earthquakes are unavoidable. While there are safer zones, the risk is present nationwide. Tokyo and Yokohama, 2 of Japan's largest cities, are in a high-risk seismic zone with a 7% chance of a magnitude 7+ earthquake in the next 30 years. This is significant, yet millions live there. So please, if a big quake hits Tokyo, don't tell me some fortune teller predicted it. The scientific data already exists. While safer areas exist, some level of earthquake risk remains throughout Japan. To live here without constant worry, you have to accept it or move elsewhere, and ideally build a home with earthquake-resistant features. Third, political conservatism. Japan is a conservative country. This isn't solely due to traditional values. A more significant factor is Japan's aging population. 25% of the population is over 65, with an average age of 49, the highest globally. Even if all young Japanese voters participated, they'd be outweighed by older generations. This demographic imbalance severely limits the influence of younger voices in politics, a significant and frustrating issue for many young Japanese people. For now, we've accepted this reality, but it might change eventually. Consequently, many governmental decisions are conservative and lag behind other nations. The country's prolonged COVID-19 restrictions, for example, are partly due to the older generation's fears about the virus and foreigners, prioritizing safety and national protection over economic growth, a contrast with the younger generation's priorities. Fourth, the food. I'm fortunate to love Japanese cuisine and mostly cook it at home, even after 10 years. But if you dislike it or tire of it easily, life in Japan becomes harder. Common ingredients from other countries like Russia or Ukraine are unusual here. Beets, for instance, can cost $3 or more for a single large one, and aren't readily available everywhere. Dark bread and kefir are virtually non-existent. Many familiar foods will be unavailable, requiring a shift to Japanese cuisine. This doesn't mean you can only eat Japanese food. You can still occasionally make borscht, Italian, or Chinese food, but you'll mainly rely on Japanese ingredients, requiring you to learn about them. Fifth, challenging societal norms. This is something I haven't fully accepted. Even if you disagree with Japanese traditions and find them overly conservative or out of sync with globalization, changing or challenging them is incredibly difficult. Many Japanese people react negatively, even to constructive criticism. Plenty of videos with factual data highlight issues like sexism, racism, or other social problems. Yet, even when presented without malicious intent, Japanese viewers often deny or reject such criticism, especially when it comes from foreigners, resorting to comments like, "Go back to your own country." A lack of self-deprecation might be a contributing factor. Unlike in many Western countries where self-deprecating humor is common, this is largely absent in Japan. Criticizing Japan, even with good intentions, is met with immense resistance. This point is only easily accepted by those deeply immersed in Japanese culture and well aware of these issues. These are the realities of living in Japan. I'm still waiting for your comments. See you next time.